What is up, DTube? What is up, Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk about something I want to call all about game theory and simplify. And what I am referring to is this blockchain space or this tech space that it really seems like it's going to come down everything to game theory. Something people talked about a lot. So basically the best gamification system, and you have different systems being tested out, and the way I look at this blockchain tech space is, okay, so it is a new language. It's a new language where you're observing something and you're seeing if it works, how it plays out, and does it play out, does it not play out, does it work, does it not work. So it's about learning language, the software language, the money language, the blockchain language, the communication language, the nuances with different languages like English. There is a lot of stuff here, but it seems like it's going to come down to game theory. Okay, so take this example, for example. So people measure things, okay, on a digital screen. For example, let's say they go to CoinMarketCap. Okay, so they are measuring the numbers that you're seeing on a screen, but if we consider it from a game theory perspective, can you actually know what is going on behind some sort of project? Like, why is this pumping right now? Why is this dumping? And I'm not a financial advisor, but I mean, it's like the more you observe it, okay, so it's a level of like humans are sort of starting to detect, okay, if I measure this that goes on here, okay, I'm seeing some digital stuff is going on, it's a bunch of numbers. If I sort of measure that, I can see that there's some level of activity. I mean, there's something going on, and the more I measure it, the more it can change. So the more you look at this over weeks, months, years, you really dive deeper into it, and then eventually come to the conclusion, okay, this is really all about game theory. Where it's, okay, so what is actually the agenda here? What is the agenda with these numbers? Like, what is the person actually trying to do? I mean, they clearly trying to get some value, right? And you look at that from a game theory perspective, and then it's like, okay, but this is something I talked about in the past, is like, you sort of you need the best system, like the best game theory system. So, and then maybe we don't have to measure a lot of stuff that we're measuring right now. So a lot of people, they want to make money, of course. So a lot of people say that they're in it for the tech and stuff like that, but most people want to make mad games, right? I mean, that is really the core thing that people sort of want to do, and then it's like, okay, let's sort of work from that, and let's see, okay, so why is all of this needed? Like, and then you have to dive deeper into history and sort of see, okay, so people are trying to get value somehow, and in many ways people are sort of observing other stuff that have worked to make money, and you have people making money on a bunch of different random things, stocks and real estate and all of this. And I mean, the deeper people dive into this, it's a rabbit hole. It's a very deep rabbit hole, because everything sort of connects to everything else. Like, okay, so what is value? What is money? Okay, so it's not physical. Okay, so we can create value from nothing now. Okay, so the more you dive deeper into all of this, eventually you do come to that conclusion that, okay, so it really is, okay, can you not just if you make the best game theory system, and everyone want to make money, right? wouldn't people eventually gravitate to the best game theory system, and that game theory system can incorporate all of the other things that people may want to have, and then you just have one perfect system, right? So it seems like that is where it's going to gravitate towards. And okay, so simplicity here, simplifying things, also a very big thing in all of this, that people try to find. Sometimes people trying to look at things from a more complicated perspective, that, well, if for example, a lot of people sort of try to look at, okay, what is really value? Like, is this value, can this token randomly have value? And people sort of get confused. Okay, so we have this Bitcoin here, but then we have, okay, so it's worth this amount of fiat. But then you take a look at, okay, the Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin is actually, you're owning stake in the network. And then you sort of see, oh, wait a sec, my stake in the Bitcoin network is getting diluted by the miners. They are creating inflation that's not going to the stakers. It's just going to the miners. So in a way, yeah, you get a share in the network, but it also goes down relative to, like, the more as time goes by, because more coins are being printed by the miners and they maybe dump it on the market. So there is so much stuff going on here. So, but yeah, simplifying stuff. So the best game theory system is going to simplify. It's going to make, so this is something that I sort of feel a lot of people get kind of confused about, this aspect, that they sort of think that stuff is going to get more complex. Because if you just look at this space, this blockchain crypto space, it looks very complex right now, because there's a lot of stuff going on. People are fed a lot of information, and people are sort of cross-checking information, and there's a lot of mistakes being done, and there's a lot of stuff that people hasn't looked at in the past. And now a lot of people are looking at a lot of stuff that seems relatively new. So it seems as systems are going to be more complex, more advanced, that a person is going to have to be on 50 different blockchains, and they're going to do all these transactions, and they're going to send their value to 500 different companies, and they are going to be a shareholder in everything. And in many ways, a lot of people have an incentive to sort of push that, okay, we're just going to make it more complex, we're just going to make it more advanced. And this is something that we also see in a lot of programming languages, that, I mean, many of them are doing basically the same thing, or many can basically do the same thing, but people sort of want to add their own little unique thing on top of it, which may not even be needed if we look at it from a game theory perspective. But then people see that, okay, so we don't have the best game theory system right now. That means that people have an incentive to sort of create their own coin, create their own blockchain, because without the best game theory system, people have massive incentive to sort of try things out, like throw out anything out into the ether, or try to program something, and sort of everyone is trying to crack, like, let's say, the code for, okay, how, like, what is the best game theory system, like, what is the best value system. When we have the ultimate value system that just creates value, creates scarcity, retains the value, works as a storage of value, then you get to this phase where stuff is being simplified, where you're just going to give someone the best system. There's not going to be any need to explain something. So in many ways, people are trying to look at this blockchain space and see, okay, how can we introduce the regulars to this? But how it's going to work is just, we're just going to give them a little device or something like that, and it's just going to work. Like, there's not going to be any need for any complex discussions like, how do I use this? It's going to, because the best game theory system would create the most easiest thing to use that the average Joe would understand. And then it's like, you move from something that looks super complex And this is the thing with humans. Humans can make stuff very complex, and it seems like, okay, but, and that can make sense. Like, humans can invent stuff, and if they put their energy and consciousness behind it, it sort of becomes real for them. That if they believe something like systems should be complex, they need to be complex, then that is sort of going to manifest for them. But how we see is a lot of like intelligence, how it works, is all the complex stuff is working in the background. So that's so all the complex stuff is going to work in the background. Nobody's going to see it. It's going to be a simplified system, and that's why I wanted to add simplify into this title of this video, because I think simplify is a big thing. That value may just be as easy as, what is that? I think that's the plane. I'd see it. Okay, I'm not seeing it, but it's up there. But yeah, I mean, people are trying to look for a way to understand some stuff that you may not be able to understand it, or have to understand it, or try to explain it in the English language. So, for example, the idea of value. People are looking at, okay, so why does these coins have value? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But then they see sort of, okay, but your fiat, it has value, even though it's not really backed by anything anymore. And it's like, I mean, it's interesting. Like, how do you explain, for example, to a human that, okay, so like, take the concept of value, but wait a sec, a human sort of popped up from nothing, right? They sort of did, like, just out of food and stuff like that. And how they have proven this in science, that you can actually make stuff pop up from nothing, like the universe. Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, how do you explain value of the universe? It's like, humans can go in endless discussions then about that basically leads to nowhere. But game theory is the big thing. I think I read, I always try to look at two things when I like look at blockchain stuff. It's like, okay, is this a better game theory system? And in some ways you want to like, in some ways you want to play. Sometimes humans love stories about, like, okay, like they hear a cool thing and they want to be a part of a brand, and it's like, oh, this sounds cool, change the world with this blockchain, and they have all these white papers, and it's kind of cool, this idea that, oh, we're gonna have hundreds of white papers and all of these projects are gonna succeed and it's all amazing. And then you start to dig below the surface and sort of see that, well, actually a lot of stuff is just fake and scams, and it's kind of easy to fake stuff in this world because it's like nobody double checks things and cross checks information, and it's like, and yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just a lot of stuff going on. You want to believe that we're going to have so many blockchain projects, and a lot of these Twitter guys say like, oh, we're going to have thousands of blockchains and side chains and all of this. And it's like, okay, wait a second. If we really take a look at this, like, honestly, if we have a simplified system, let's say a person has a small gadget, like a millimeter size gadget that just makes value, okay? And makes value in a language that is acceptable in this current world. So ones and zeros. I mean, that is what people are going and buying food with, and sort of buying houses with. It's like, okay, you have this little device, and if it has ones and zeros inside of it, you can get real goods and services. So it's like, okay, in theory, then you can have a super small device that just has some memory inside of it. It's just connected to some AI, and it just makes value, and it has found the best game theory system for that. And then it's like, okay, that's interesting. So if you have that, would people actually care about thousands of side chains and and we're gonna have a ton of these communities, hundreds and thousands, and they're gonna be decentralized and all of this? Would people actually care about that if they actually just had the value for a billion years? Would they actually care, or would they actually just, I don't know, do something else? Who knows? I mean, a big part in many ways, a lot of people still would be here. Maybe, I mean, at least the geeks would still be in the blockchain space, even if maybe it wasn't, you know, that you can gain massive value in terms of money. But if you look at the average person, like would the average person like do thousands of transactions and have their communities? It's like, do they need that level of value? Or would majority of people, not geeks, would they just be like, okay, you just give me this device, and it just makes value, and then I'm just gonna keep on doing the same thing as they already did. Like maybe they just keep doing the same thing, and then just have some value, because most people are not really doing so many transactions, like monthly, maybe max a couple of day, maybe 2 or 3 max. So what's the thing with the TPS and that you need billions of transactions per second? Do we really need that? Or is it just that people buy into a story and they want to believe that you're gonna have some super big magical change? I don't know, but it's it does seem like, and it's something that me as a geek, and I think a lot of geeks enjoy this idea that, my God, can we create the best game theory system? The ultimate white paper that just makes it, you can do everything with one project. Might sound crazy, but look at what people are using. People are using simple stuff. People are hanging on one place. Why would they need more white papers? Why can't you do everything with like, use one little device or something? I think you actually can create some system there where all the tech is just handled. And then people can actually focus on what they really want to do. Who knows what it is? But if you free people up, you're eventually going to discover something. So yeah, I mean, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. White papers maybe should be called game theory papers. And in many ways, it's almost like you get better stuff if you use like, if you kind of are more real to yourself and realize maybe like 99% of white papers and stuff like that, blockchains, is like, yeah, but we don't need this really. Like, we don't need this. It maybe it could work in theory, but what we can use this other thing and sort of do the same thing already. Maybe we can have the AI do it. Some people don't like that I use the word AI so much. And I don't think AI is going to be some magical thing. I think that it's just that, I think in many ways, I mean, many people want to sell this idea because you can raise a lot of funds with it, that the AI is going to do big things. You're going to have your voice assistant and it's going to be magical and it's just going to guide you through utopia. Well, in fact, the AI is just going to be like electricity or water. It's not going to be something that person thinks about, because everyone is like, it's everywhere, right? So yeah, I mean, a little bit what I want to talk about. I think the people eventually, what I love about this is best game theory system, simplified systems, use free people up in time, and then they can actually use their intelligence and not be super obsessed with just one part of their intelligence. Because a lot of human consciousness are spent kind of wasted right now. But that's another topic, right? But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that. I love white papers, I love it. But looking at like 99% of it as well, this is not that impressive. And then just focus on the 1%. I mean, that's great. And it also in many ways gives more clarity for a person, where it's like, yeah, instead of looking at, and doesn't just have to be with white papers, but it could be with a lot of things in life. It's like, why not, like 99% is just noise. Why not go for the 1% that actually seems like it's doing something, or that is interesting, or that it leads to something. Who knows what it's going to lead to, but it does seem like this place is expanding. And I think so. Like, I think intelligence is expanding day by day. That it's not something that's in a box. And if it is expanding, it's a joy to measure it. But measure it will not come to a conclusion, because something that grows every day, yeah. That's what I want to talk a little bit about today. Fun stuff. And sometimes the best stuff I find, like the stuff that I really love, I mean, it's so good. It almost becomes like your baby. Like it's some amazing project or some amazing cool thing that sort of, oh, it's so clean, it's so pure, it sounds so good in terms of like a white paper or an explanation of something, where you sort of see, okay, here we have this person that have seen something in the world that other people have missed. And this is really fascinating because everyone has eyes, right? But not everyone is seeing original stuff, seeing original viewpoints, seeing what actually goes on, and seeing how you can improve things and comes up with solutions. But when you actually look at things, you can actually find solutions. You can actually see stuff, what is happening. I mean, you can observe it, you can measure it. And that's kind of cool. That's kind of a part of the big mystery, right? If something is intelligent, it has to be engaging, and something that's ever expanding, and something that you always can measure. That is super exciting, right? That's intelligence. That's true intelligence. Yeah. Have a great day, YouTube, and the Steam blockchain. Bye bye.